Put your hand on your desk right now, or the arm of your chair. Feel that surface? It is solid. It is consistent. It belongs to you. Now, I want you to imagine that tonight, the only thing you have to put your hand on is a cold, padlock chain link fence outside an abandoned high school gym in a town of 300 people, or the dusty wooden counter of a general store that closed its doors 5 years ago. You are standing completely frozen in the dark, watching the lone street lamp flicker at the intersection of Main Street and a forgotten state highway, listening to the absolute silence of a community that has quietly bled out over a decade. You aren't visiting a historic theme park, and you aren't looking at an ancient archaeological site. You are standing in the middle of a modern American town that was fully functional just 15 years ago, a place where people raised families, built multi-generational businesses, and paid their taxes every single year. It is May 2026, and a quiet, structural liquidation has taken root across the rural landscape of the United States. We are living through an era where nearly 500,000 citizens have systematically vanished from non-metropolitan counties over a single 5-year window. This isn't the result of a sudden natural disaster, and it isn't the fallout of a localized conflict. It is a slow, multi-front economic attrition that is causing more than half of every rural county in the nation to shrink simultaneously for the first time in our history. The local infrastructure is collapsing like a house of cards. First, a manufacturing plant relocates. Then the hospital closes its emergency bays, followed immediately by the pharmacy, the grocery store, and finally, the school. When the final institution is boarded up, the town stops being a community and transforms into a hollow shell of standing structures. An unspoken monument to an economy that has completely detached its capital from the geography of the working class. Welcome to Homeless US. I am not a travel commentator filming scenic ruins, and I am not a politician presenting a sanitized rural development brief. I am a witness to the systematic erasure of our small towns and the displacement of the families who built them from the ground up. Today, we are exposing the mechanics of the downward demographic spiral, the precise chain of events that is turning 998 rural counties across this country into future ghost towns while the rest of the nation looks somewhere else. Stay with me for the next hour, because what we are about to uncover regarding structural population decrease, the critical hospital closure sequence, the expansion of pharmacy deserts, and the total destruction of the community tax base will change the way you see the American landscape forever. If you believe no neighborhood should be allowed to wither into a graveyard of memories, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's look through the lens at the reality of the vanishing grid. Part 1. The 4 demographic horsemen, the anatomy of the spiral. To understand why the foundation of rural America is fracturing in 2026, we must look directly at the structural forces that researchers call the 4 Ds: depopulation, deindustrialization, deaths, and deprivation. These are not separate, isolated challenges. They are interconnected mechanisms that feed into a single, self-reinforcing downward demographic spiral. According to the comprehensive data compiled by the Russell Sage Foundation and released in early 2026, the majority of all non-metropolitan counties in the United States are actively losing their human capital simultaneously, marking an unprecedented structural contraction across our geographic interior. The spiral always initiates with a selective loss, the departure of the young. When a 26-year-old resident exits a rural county to seek a livelihood in an urban tech or logistics hub, the community does not merely lose a single unit of population. It loses an entire generational thread. That town loses every child that individual would have raised within the school district, every home purchase they would have financed, every decade of property tax revenue, and every local service business their family would have supported for the next 40 years. A single departure function is a massive multi-generational subtraction that compounds with every annual cycle. As the youth population evaporates, the local birth rate experiences a total structural collapse. The average age of the remaining population surges, pushing the county into a state of natural decrease. a demographic condition where annual deaths consistently outnumber new births by widening margins. When a community enters this territory, it loses the biological and economic capacity to renew itself. The economic autopsies of historical ghost towns reveal that the causes of community death, the loss of the single primary employer, the rerouting of transportation infrastructure, and the erosion of local resource value, are currently active across 998 rural counties. We are looking at a forecast of the future. In 3 decades, travelers will walk through the empty streets of the towns currently sliding down this spiral, viewing their skeletal remaining structures with the same detached curiosity we reserve for abandoned frontier outposts, entirely unaware that the fatal blow was delivered in the mid-2020s. Part 2. The medical evacuation, the vulnerable hospital chain. The biological collapse of a rural community accelerates past the point of recovery when a local healthcare infrastructure is systematically dismantled. According to data monitored by the Chartis Center for Rural Health, 46% of all remaining rural hospitals in the United States are currently operating at a severe financial loss. Over 430 facilities are identified as highly vulnerable to permanent closure within the immediate annual window. Since 2005, 110 rural medical centers have gone dark permanently, with 24 of those liquidations taking place over the past 5 years. This structural contraction has split the nation into 2 distinct geographic classes: those who reside within 12 minutes of an active emergency trauma bay, and those who reside more than 72 minutes away. The line separating these 2 Americas is being aggressively redrawn every month as another rural medical center goes dark. Texas has lost inpatient capacity in 26 communities, Tennessee has lost 16, and Georgia, Kansas, Mississippi, and Oklahoma have lost 11 facilities each. This geography of closure maps perfectly onto the corridors of mass population loss. A hospital closure is never just a story about healthcare access. It is an immediate economic liquidation of the town itself. The medical center is almost always the single largest employer in the county, maintaining hundreds of stable, high-wage professional jobs that the local economy cannot replace. When the hospital leaves, the doctors, nurses, technicians, and administrators exit the community immediately, taking their families and their consumer spending power with them. New federal reimbursement rules are intensifying this strain, leaving independent rural facilities facing severe income drops. The sequence that follows is entirely predictable. The hospital closes, professional jobs vanish, families realize they cannot safely raise children or manage health risks over an hour away from an emergency room, and they pack their vehicles to leave. The town that lost its medical care then loses the remainder of its population because of the asset it lost, ensuring that no modern health network will ever build a replacement structure on that ground. Part 3. The pharmacy deserts, the rationing of late-life survival. The immediate consequence of the medical evacuation is the rapid formation of wide pharmacy deserts across the rural interior. Public health data indicates that more than 7,000 pharmacies have permanently closed their doors across the United States over the past several cycles, driven by immense financial bloodletting within national retail drug chains. When a major corporate chain experiences billions in losses, they do not close locations in affluent urban suburbs. They systematically exit the thin-margin markets of our small towns and rural counties, where the consumer base is already aging and shrinking. When a local pharmacy goes dark, it creates a crisis for the elderly population that cannot be resolved through digital workarounds. In hundreds of small towns, the local pharmacist was not just a retail clerk. They were the last accessible medical professional left on Main Street. They were the individuals who reviewed medication interactions, monitored blood pressure readings, evaluated sudden symptoms, and administered seasonal vaccinations for miles around. When that door is locked, An older citizen managing complex chronic conditions is suddenly forced to undertake a 60-mile round trip just to fill a standard prescription. When fuel costs or physical limitations render that journey impossible, senior citizens begin to practice dangerous, survival-driven adjustments. They cut their life-sustaining pills in half, skip doses to stretch their prescriptions across multiple months, and attempt to manage severe pain and isolation. Their health quietly and predictably deteriorates behind drawn curtains until a preventable condition escalates into an acute emergency, requiring a high-speed transport to a trauma center that is now over an hour away. As the National Community Pharmacists Association projects independent closures exceeding one store per day, the basic infrastructure of daily survival is being erased. Faced with the mathematical impossibility of maintaining their health in an abandoned landscape, older residents eventually make the final decision to sell their properties for a fraction of their value and relocate closer to urban centers, leaving one more home permanently vacant on the grid. Part 4. The eradication of social infrastructure, the lonely Main Street. There is a specific moment in the decline of a small town that appears entirely non-threatening to an outside observer. It is the moment the local independent grocery store closes its doors. There is no emergency notification sent to our phones, and no national news anchor reports the event. There is simply a handwritten sign taped to the glass door, rows of empty steel shelving visible through the window, and a gravel parking lot that stays quiet from that afternoon forward. But when a community loses its grocery store, its local diner, and its hardware shop, it loses far more than commercial access to goods. It experiences a total liquidation of its social infrastructure, the vital places where everyday community life actually happens. A small-town grocery store functions as the informal town square. It is the specific space where neighbors interact without planning, where an isolated elder has a brief conversation with a cashier who has known her family for 3 decades, and where the bulletin board displays notices regarding local meetings, recent passings, and community events. It is where human connection is assembled naturally, simply because everyone must eat. When that store closes, the food can technically be purchased at a corporate megacenter 40 miles away on the interstate, but the social cohesion it generated cannot be relocated. It simply ends. This structural isolation carries a measurably lethal tax on the human body. Public health directives have formally identified loneliness as a major health epidemic, confirming that chronic social isolation spikes the risk of premature mortality by up to 29%. An impact that matches smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Rural America, which is older and more geographically spread out than the urban cores, has become the epicenter of this isolation epidemic. When the gathering spaces vanish one by one, the town ceases to function as a community. It becomes a fragmented collection of detached houses where isolated individuals live parallel lives in the dark, until they either pass away alone or abandon the property to escape the silence. Part 5. The Death Certificate, the Cost of School Consolidation. While the loss of hospitals and commercial spaces leaves a town severely compromised, there is one specific institution whose closure changes the mathematics of survival permanently, moving the community from a state of decline into total structural death. That institution is the local public school. Educational infrastructure reports indicate that at least 200 rural schools are scheduled for permanent closure or forced consolidation within the immediate academic cycle, with analysts projecting that annual closures will climb past 1,000 per year by 2030, liquidating up to 10,000 school buildings across the decade. The engine driving this mass consolidation is a combination of falling enrollment, the expiration of temporary federal relief funds, and an aging structural infrastructure that local municipalities no longer possess the tax base to maintain. When a school district is consolidated, the economic value of the surrounding village drops immediately. Sociological data demonstrates that home values are nearly 25% higher in small rural villages that manage to retain their school building compared to identical towns that lose them. The moment the school is shuttered, property values plunge, trapping the remaining residents because their homes can no longer be sold for enough capital to finance a move to another market. The school is also, in the vast majority of rural counties, the primary source of stable local employment, maintaining jobs for teachers, administrative staff, maintenance workers, and transit operators all at once. When those professional incomes vanish, the local service economy collapses. No young family with options will ever choose to relocate to a town where their children must ride a bus 80 minutes each way to a consolidated campus 2 counties over. The closure of the school acts as the official death certificate of the community. Everything before was a serious illness, but the school shutdown is the moment the town, as a living organism, stops breathing. The empty brick buildings may remain standing against the weather for another generation, but the future of the geography has been completely liquidated. Part 6. The Industrial Autopsy. The Fall of the Single Factory. The entire chain of institutional decline, the medical evacuation, the pharmacy desert, and the school consolidation, is almost always initiated by a single economic event: the closure of the primary manufacturing or agricultural processing plant. Economists map this collapse through a mechanism known as the employment multiplier effect, which dictates that for every single industrial job that disappears from a local market, an additional 3 to 4 jobs inside the local retail, logistics, and service sectors are pulled down with it. Consider the trajectory of a furniture manufacturing plant or a textile mill that has functioned as the financial anchor of a rural county for 60 years. On a Tuesday morning, the corporate parent company issues a brief statement announcing the consolidation of operations to a lower-cost facility out of state or overseas. Within 30 days, 400 direct manufacturing positions are completely eliminated from a county with a total workforce of only a few thousand people. The economic shockwaves move through Main Street with immense speed. The local tool suppliers lose their primary corporate contracts. The diners lose their entire morning and lunch customer base, and the hardware store sees its revenue drop 40% within a month. The local school board suddenly faces a structural budget deficit that cannot be bridged because the plant's property tax assessments historically provided over half of the district's funding. The workers hit hardest by this industrial shift are those with the most advanced, highly specialized skills. Individuals who have spent 25 years operating specific production machinery. The moment that machine is disassembled and sold for scrap, the economic value of everything those workers spent their adult lives learning is rendered zero. The retraining initiatives offered by the state are consistently underfunded, difficult to access, and located in distant urban centers that require relocation. These workers are forced to confront a choice with no good answer: stay inside the declining town and accept an entry-level service position at a fraction of their historical wage, or abandon their home equity, sell their property into a collapsed local market, and attempt to reconstruct their lives from scratch in their late 50s. The majority eventually choose the exit ramp, and as their families depart, they take the remaining spending power of the town with them, completing the liquidation of the community. Outro: The Awakening of Homeless U.S. The collapse of rural America in 2026 is not a gradual, natural demographic shift that we can afford to view with passive indifference. It is one of the largest internal migrations in the history of the continent, a massive, structural redistribution of the population that has seen the rural share of the American public drop to an all-time low of just 14%. In a single human lifetime, this country has transformed from a nation where the majority of citizens lived inside smaller, interconnected communities into an urbanized landscape where fewer than 1 in 7 people reside outside of a metropolitan core. This did not happen by accident. It was engineered through decades of globalized supply chains, corporate consolidation of local healthcare, and total political paralysis on the structural questions of geographic equity. Reversing this spiral requires us to move past temporary grant programs and empty economic rhetoric. It demands a radical, unified commitment to building infrastructure that anchors human life to the landscape. We must legalize and expand local business incubators, construct high-speed municipal broadband networks that allow remote workers to bring urban wages directly into small-town economies, and protect our rural medical centers through direct state funding models that value a trauma bay as a public utility rather than a profit center. But the most critical factor is the collective will of the people on the ground. No dying town has ever been saved by federal agency or an outside corporate intervention. The only force that has ever broken the downward spiral is a community of citizens who looked at the exit ramp, refused to become ghosts, and decided together that their town was worth fighting for. I want to hear from you. This documentary only matters if it breaks through the background noise of the digital space and transforms into an active conversation within our shared community of awareness. After exploring how the loss of hospitals, factories, and schools is systematically erasing hundreds of small American towns from the grid in 2026, what do you think needs to change first? Must we legally mandate that national pharmacy and healthcare chains cannot abandon rural counties without a state-funded replacement? Or should we focus entirely on investing public capital into local municipal broadband to draw a new generation of remote workers into these empty spaces? Have you witnessed the signs of this institutional decline within your own hometown or during your daily travels? Please leave a comment below. I read every single one because your voice is what builds this channel, Homeless US, into a vital force for structural truth and human empathy. If today's journey through the vanishing grid opened your eyes or validated a change you have noticed on your local Main Street, please do me one simple favor. Hit that like button right now. It is the simplest and most powerful way to help the YouTube algorithm share these geographic realities with more people who need to understand the structural causes of community displacement. If we choose to remain silent and look away, the spiral continues without challenge, and the erasure of our rural history deepens out of sight. Subscribe to Homeless US and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming investigations into the hidden realities of modern life. Don't let your awareness stop when this presentation concludes. Transform your empathy into consistent, practical action within your own region. Support local independent businesses, join community development boards, and advocate fiercely for rural infrastructure funding in your state assemblies. If you live inside a declining town, buy your goods from the local shop that is barely hanging on instead of driving 40 miles to an international retail chain. Show up to the town council assemblies and invest your energy into the preservation of your local school. We are the ultimate safety net for one another. We leave you tonight with a quiet prayer for every single soul navigating the survival gauntlet of our rural communities and small towns tonight. May you find a moment of absolute physical safety and deep mental peace in the hours ahead. May the long winters be kind to your spirit, and may the distance to medical care never be the difference between life and death for your family. We pray for the children completing their homework in the quiet houses, for the workers facing displacement after decades of labor, and for the elders waiting for a human voice in the silent valleys tonight. May a hand reach out to you tomorrow that doesn't want to abandon your town or ignore your struggle, but wants to offer you a genuine foundation of support, opportunity, and home. May fresh hope rise in your heart, and may you know that you are not a statistic, you are not forgotten, and you are deeply valued by the human family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with us for the entirety of this presentation. Your time, your focus, and your deep attention are the most valuable assets you can offer to this movement. We're not just filming the concrete and the empty roads of our world. We are witnessing our neighbors. We are recording the real human history that our modern systems want to conceal beneath corporate market metrics and polished urbanization indexes. We are all just walking each other home, bound together by the same fragile threads of timing, health, and luck. Let us carry more empathy in our hearts and more courage in our daily actions starting tomorrow morning. We will see you in the next investigation from Homeless US. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other out there. Hallelujah.